Hello everybody, I've got something really fun to do today. Something that I never thought that I would get to do, actually. And that is talk about my chickens. So, let's go to the laundry room. All right, here we are in the laundry room. Don't mind the bright light. It's slowly becoming the land of the pets. We've got Huckleberry's box and her food and the cat's food and chickens. So let me preface this by saying that I am in no way a chicken expert, but I figured that I would give a step-by-step of what we've been doing with our chicks so that it could be helpful for you in the future if you decide to get chicks. Okay, so let's start off with, and I know it's hard to see because this red one here, but I will introduce the chicks. So this first one here, this is a Lavender Orpington, and she will grow up to have lavender feathers and lay blue eggs. And then we've got a cream leg bar, and that's a mixed breed. We've got an Americana and an Easter egger. And an Easter egger is just an Americana that's been bred with another bird. And they're called Easter eggers because they lay all different color eggs from brown to green to blue, even light pink. So we got our little guys from Tractor Supply. And I've actually had this feed bucket for a long time. I had it for tomato plants, actually. So let me just kind of tell you some of the things that you need for your first week of chickens. It is springtime, and in the springtime, it's chick season. So we went down to our local Tractor Supply and picked up these 4 chicks. You can get chicks in the mail if you want to. They ship really easy. Once they're hatched, they have a yolk sac in their belly, and it keeps them alive for the travel, about 2 to 3 days. But as soon as you get them home, you want to immediately give them food and water. Our little guys were eating food and water in the store, so we didn't have to worry about it too much, but I did set this up as soon as we got home. So you can get things individually to take care of your chickens. We actually grabbed a box that had the feeder, the water, this little extra feeder that I have on the side here. It came with the light even, and that was helpful, but that doesn't mean you can't buy them all individually. And this is a special red light here that heats these chickens. So in their first week of life, they need to be between, you want the temperature right underneath where they're at right now to be between 95 and 100-ish. As the weeks progress, once they get 2 weeks, you drop it down 5 degrees, 3 weeks, another 5 degrees. By the time they're 5 or 6 weeks, they should be kind of starting to wean off these lights. They will tell you if they're cold. If you see them all huddling under the light and not moving away from it, they're probably too cold and you need to tilt the light so it's a little closer to them. If you see them kind of back away from it, it's too hot and you would need to move it away. Right now they're comfortable, they're walking around, they're doing their thing, so I'm not concerned about them. They do kind of get close to it at nighttime, but there's always one little chick that's kind of off to the side, and I think they're pretty comfortable at this point. So this can be a fire hazard, obviously. There's wood shavings there. We're keeping the jackets and stuff far away because if this were to fall, it would catch fire. We have this chicken wire on top, so if somehow this little clamp got disconnected, it would just fall on the chicken wire. So I'm not overly concerned about it at this point, but keep that in mind. The reason why we have them in the laundry room and not outside is because it's been freezing out there, and a cold breeze would kill these chicks. Even if we had them in the garage or the shop, I still want to keep them in here. I think at 4 or 5 weeks, potentially we would move them to the shop or the garage here. But right now they're in the laundry room and I feel pretty good about keeping them in here. So obviously important, water and food. So this little water I change every day. You can change it a couple times a day depending on how crazy your chicks are as far as running around, getting poop or their little shavings into their water. There are little stones in this water around the edge. I put little stones, clean rocks. We got rocks I just took gravel from outside, but I washed them really good before I put them in there. The reason why you want to put rocks around your water is because chicks tend to drown themselves for whatever reason. So you put the rocks there so they can't drown themselves. Usually if you get them from a feed store, they've already been drinking water. They kind of understand the concept. So my chicks just ran right to it. If you get your chicks in the mail and they've never experienced a waterer before, grab one of your little chicks, dip their little beak in there, they'll get some water, and then they'll teach the rest where the water is. It's amazing how smart they are. They kind of do their own thing. You don't really have to tell them what to do. They just kind of do it. And this is wood shavings. You don't want to use straw in chicks, brooders, or even in a chick coop, or a chicken coop, excuse me, because it starts to get damp and mold, and that's not good for chicks. So we're not changing this bedding. What we do is, and I've got it out here, we just keep stacking on top. So here's the bedding that I have. This is upside down. Ooh, it's just shavings. And you stack it on top until they're ready to come out of the brooder, and you can compost it. So it's not like you have to go in there every day and scoop it out by hand. Also, what they're in right now, you can use pretty much anything. I've seen people use luggage totes, like the plastic bins, and put them in there. You really don't need much room, especially because we only have 4 chicks. This is a lot of room actually for 4 chicks. This is just like a water tub or a green tub. We had this here already, but these are not crazy expensive. But I mean, you could use anything that will hold them. We've got the chicken wire on top because we have a cat and the cat's interested. But you don't need this until they start trying to fly. But again, it's good protection for this light here. I've been thinking actually about getting another light just on hand. Heaven forbid this breaks or burns out in the time that they're supposed to be in the brooder. If it was in the middle of the night, I would have to basically wrap these chicks up and hold them so that they don't freeze, which is not cool. So maybe a good thing to have on hand. Anyways, back to the water. So you change your water every day. Same thing with the food. If they start to get little things in their food, probably want to try to pick them out, clean it up. The cleaner that this can be, the healthier and happier your chicks will be. So we've got Chick Starter. This is medicated. You don't have to get medicated, but we grabbed it. It's good. If you're only feeding your chicks Chick Starter, they will be fine. You don't need to do anything else. Water, Chick Starter, they're good. If you decide that you want to give them little table scraps, like little tiny chopped up pieces of lettuce or celery tops, something like that, or we've been giving them worms to kind of run around, you want to get your chicks some chick grit. So this is just tiny little pieces of like pumice rock, basically ground up. It helps them digest their food. So if it's just chick grit only, you're fine. You don't need, if you just have chick food, you don't need chick grit. But if you're gonna be supplementing their diet with anything, chick grit is a must. So that's just the simple basic care of these little guys. And I'm gonna go kind of more into personality and kind of what you're trying to get out of your chickens. So I unplugged their light just for a second. You don't want to do this for too long because they will get cold, but it's just easier for you to see them, and you can kind of see their colors a little bit better. So before we jump into personalities, and I'll kind of tie along with this, let's talk about the chick grit just a little bit more. So these feeders and these waterers, the chicks won't overdo it. It's not like a puppy where you have to regulate what they eat. If they're full, they'll stop. So this feeder can stay full all the time, and you don't have to worry about them having too much. But if you have your chick grit feeder, which I took out, they will eat more of this than their chick food. And if you notice that they're eating more of the chick grit and not their food, take it out, because you don't want them filling up on the grit and not actually their food. You can sprinkle a little bit in their food so that they can get food and a little chick grit, or like I said, kind of just regulate it. So one thing about personalities, if you want chickens and you just want them for their eggs and you want them to be independent, when you bring the chickens home, you want to leave them alone. leave them alone. They'll get this flock mentality kind of worked out, find out who's the leader of the pack, and then they'll regulate themselves. Usually it's the biggest bird, just because size and strength matter. They can steal a worm from the other one and kind of assert their dominance. If you had a male chicken in here, the male would automatically take over. Roosters kind of rule the roost, so to speak, and they'll just kind of follow the leader and be independent. It makes it a little bit more difficult if you're trying to check them for things like their health, or if you need to snag them for whatever reason, because they'll be a little skittish, they'll kind of run away from you, but they won't be needy. So if I was hanging out with these chicks all the time, and they started recognizing me as their leader and their mama, I potentially couldn't get anything done outside. They would follow you around, they would peep when you're gone, they'd be more like pets. They still will give you eggs and things, but they tend to be a little more needy. So if you want a good mix of in between, where they're still chickens, but they're docile, they're not necessarily 100% pets, you can kind of do a little mix of something in between. So a good thing to do is, and I'll just grab some chick right here because it's easier. So just hold out your hand, and eventually someone will come to you and they'll see what you've got. It's normally this little Lavender Orpington right here, the one that's coming up. I think she seems to be the most dominant one. No pecking, no pecking, goodness. They will come up to you and they'll take something out of your hand, right? And then the other chicks will go, oh, okay, you don't seem too bad. And then potentially the other ones will come up, kind of see what's happening and take some out of your hand too. So that's how they get to you. They get used to you. They like their little crops pet here. So first they'll come to you for the snacks because they like snacks. And then eventually you can just put your hand in and they'll come to you because they want pet. So when you go out to see them, if you need to check them, like I said, for health reasons, or you need to snag them for whatever reason, they'll come up to you and they won't have issues. So that's kind of the point that you want to get to, where they're not afraid of you. They don't need you all the time. They'll come see you because you're friends. Look, see how they stretch out their little necks. They like those pets. So you want them to be friendly. Oh, hi, honey. You want them to be friendly and docile, but you don't want them to just have to follow you all around and make you the mama. Basically, there needs to be a flock dynamic, and they're kind of working it out. So, like I said, if you want them to just be a flock by themselves, work it out. Don't bother them the first couple days. Let them figure it out. If you want to have them be complete pets, I mean, you could pick them up, carry them around, snuggle them all you want, and they'll probably not be independent birds in the future. They'll be more pet-like. If you want that good mix, try to find a balance. I'm going to turn their light back on so they're not freezing their little wings off. So something interesting that they told me in the store was if you want a flock of 5 birds, buy 7 birds, because most likely 2 of them are going to die, or just get a couple more than what you think you need, because chicks tend to kind of be fragile. We haven't had issues so far, thank goodness. So everybody seems to be doing really good, healthy and happy, but that doesn't mean anything. So I did let the boys know in advance something could happen to these little chickies. So, but everybody seems to be good right now. So we're going into week 2. So I will give you an update at week 3 and 4 and just kind of show you how they're progressing. Alrighty, see you soon.